this is my 6th video from the Watercolor Basics for Beginners, and today we are going to paint this, so our first project. And for this I will just first show you how to work the different values and tones for your color. For this video I'm using my Princeton brushes. I have my Archie's watercolor paper, my Mary Blue watercolors, I have my water, paper towel, some extra palette, and I have an extra sheet of paper where I will just first show you the exercise that I definitely recommend you to try it out before starting doing anything, so you can just understand and test by yourself. So the first thing I will do is to mix a very creamy watercolor. So you will see that when it's really creamy, it will be very dark. And to get it lighter, I just dip my brush in the water and then go again on the paper, and then again one time water and again on the paper. Adding water to the paint will make it lighter. You can definitely use white for sure, but then white will make your color more pastel instead of light. And here the water is just lightening your color, but it keeps it same brightness, but it's just different value. And the white will definitely change the color as well. Another option is, if you cannot really control the water, then you can just mix it on the side and you can add a bit more water to your paint every time when you want to make it lighter. So you just add a little bit of water every time on the palette instead of only to the brush. And if there's too much paint dripping from your brush, just tap on the paper towel so you will not get all of this water on your paper. And just keep going until you get as many lighter values you need. You can definitely also start with a lot of water and just adding a little bit of paint, then a little bit more and more. So in this case you will start from the light and go darker and darker, and this we will just make it in a moment when we start painting our mountains. So just keep watching for my next step. You can see that with both techniques we could get different values. So let's just put it on the side so we can see, and grab the other paper so we can start doing our project. And for this I am gonna need some tape because we will use a lot of water. And to keep our paper flat, I will just fix it on the table. This will also create a nice edge. If you are into more natural edges, then you can definitely just paint more inside and don't go all over the paper. Now that this is ready, the first thing I will do is just to sketch very light my mountains. I will try to make it visible enough, but don't go too much with your pencil, because once you add watercolor on top of it, then you cannot erase it and it will stay, it will be visible. And if you don't want such effect, then just sketch very light with the pencil. So I have my reference photo that I found on internet, and I am just sketching. I don't really try to make it exactly the same, and I also like to improvise while painting, and sometimes I will add extra layer, what will also happen here, but you will see in a moment. And I sketch some trees, and it's a really rough sketch. I am definitely not going into details here, but just to know what is where on the paper. I hope this makes sense. I will use some eraser to lighten up my pencil, so I don't want to see it behind my paint. And then I will start this time from the lightest part. So I add a lot of water to my Mary Blue Payne's Gray color, and then I go all over the page. Then I add extra water, and I go with the brush back and forth until I am happy with the result. At some point I just kept adding just water, because adding more and more paint, it will make the paper darker, and I didn't want this. I wanted very light background. Here we are working from the lighter part until to the darkest, and now that the background is still wet, I can just make my clouds. And for this you can see that I am just using paper towel, so I'm not even trying to paint clouds, but I am just tapping with the paper towel, and it will pick up some of the paint and the water, and it will create these nice white clouds. You can go as much as you want, but don't overdo it, because then you will pick up all of the paint and you will have to do it again. Make sure this layer, this first layer, is completely dry before continue to the next one. Otherwise your paint will bleed and you will not really have the edge for the mountain, and it will create a different result. Then for the next step I am adding a bit more of my Payne's Gray to the same mixture I already had. So adding a little bit of paint, it will make it slightly darker. Also, just naturally, when you add some watercolor on top of the watercolor, because it's a transparent paint, it will naturally get a bit darker because there's already something under it, and when you add more, then it will be slightly darker. Here I want to recommend that if you are using heating tool to speed up the process, just make sure to wait for the paper to cool down, because I didn't wait, and then my paint was drying too fast, and I didn't really had the result I wanted. I tried to fix it, it was kind of okay, but for the perfection, just if you want to have a nicer and perfect result, just wait for your paper to cool down, so you have enough time to add and make the next layer. So when you are done, you have to make sure this layer is completely dry, so you can continue to the next one. Every time we just dry it, we either use the heating tool, or we can just grab a tea and enjoy something until it's completely dry. I'm not patient enough, so I use my heating tool here. The next step is to add again more paint to our mixture, and then continue making our layers. Here it was a bit hard to see my sketch lines, but when you have the reference photo on the side, you can just improvise and just enjoy it. You can always fix everything. So here I had something that was not completely dry, so my paint bleeded a little bit. So what I did was to give it a second to just dry out a bit more, and I added again a little bit of paint so I could get this harsh edge that I want for the mountains. And every time you have to remember to dry it out very well. This heating tool is my favorite. I speed up here the process so you don't see 3 minutes of my heating tool, but I just love it. And then for the next one we add again a little bit more paint. I mix it well. I don't add extra water. If you are out of paint, just add a little bit of water, but keep in mind that you will need more of the paint. So I go like this with my paint a few times until I'm happy. For my next layer, I again added more paint, and instead of drawing the mountain, I wanted to make some real trees that were kind of on the front. So I just improvised. I didn't want really detailed trees, but I wanted to make this just slightly more interesting. So what I did, I was just painting one line and then tapping with my brush to the sides just to create this kind of evergreen trees. I made a few of these, and then I also painted a ground so I could have a little bit more space to make even darker trees on the front. And then for my last layer, I really mixed very concentrated paint, so it's like this creamy texture. And I made a little bit, it's not really detailed, but you could see that I had smaller swatches with my brush. So you could definitely say that these trees are just on the front, and you could differentiate the layers. It's just how you like it. You can make smaller ones. You can also just try doing this without the trees, but just a few layers for the mountains. Just play around. Don't stop yourself from trying new things. This one was not on on my reference photo, so I just improvised a little bit and I tried. I definitely encourage you to do the same. I encourage you to do this also using another color, maybe a green, or maybe you can even use a few colors, so making the transition from lighter to darker. You can also make it from warm or from cool and going to the opposite, so warm colors. So what I mean is from warm to cool colors or from cool to warm colors. You can definitely improvise and do something that you enjoy. And even if you don't like the first 2-3 versions, just keep going. And then I'm sure at some point you will definitely find the one that you like the most. And now for the best part. I love this part, just removing the tape. You have to go in 90 degrees and remove it very slowly. Again, maybe I already said that in my previous videos, but in case you didn't watch them, just make sure the paint is completely dry before start removing the tape. And you can see this just super nice straight edge that you have or I have on the paper. I definitely love it. So if you enjoyed this video and you liked it, please subscribe for my channel so you will not miss anything, and just like my videos so I can keep growing and creating videos for you here. And see you next week for the bonus lesson. Bye!